Hey everyone, thank you for joining us again for another episode of Going Live with. And in today's live episode, we have a very special guest with us. I'm very proud to have this good buddy of mine join us today to hang out with us, to answer questions and to chat about study skills, boosting our brain power, and also achieving mastery. So the guest that I want to introduce to you today is really a good buddy of mine. Like I said, his name is Nishant Kasibhatla. Nishant is a Guinness World Record Holder in the year 2011 for memory. He's also a grandmaster of memory, and he's a certified speaking professional. So ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Nishant. So hi Nishant, thank you for joining us.
Hey,
Thank you for hanging out with us.
thanks so much for the introduction, and it's really awesome to be on this show here. And huge congratulations for your channel. You just touched 200,000 subscribers. Holy moly, that's amazing, man!
We just passed 200 over 1,000. Your video is almost 4 million, by the way. I don't know if you checked that out.
I just checked it just a few minutes ago. So yeah, congratulations.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah. So for those of you who are tuning in once again, thank you for joining us this Sunday evening. Nishant has spoken at Ideas and Inspiration before. Nishant's talk on mastery, which is how to learn anything fast, which I'm going to put up on screen, which you're going to see right here. Let me just figure out how to work this. There you go. It's on the screen itself. Nishant's talk on the Ideas and Inspiration channel is hitting almost 4 million views now, which is amazing. I still remember when we were doing this, Nishant, never did we expect the video to be so popular among a lot of people, right? And to know that it's going to be hitting 4 million views and it's still climbing steadily. So it's just so amazing. So for those of you who are tuning in, if you have not seen this video yet by Nishant, please do go to the Ideas and Inspiration channel. Just click on that video. You will see mastery, how to learn anything fast. Believe me, it'll be the best 20 minutes you have ever spent on a video teaching you how to do and learn something. So once again, Nishant, congratulations on hitting the 4 million views. So
Thank you.
Nishant, by the way, has a wonderful YouTube channel of his own as well. I will be speaking a little bit more about that later on, but do also check out his YouTube channel. It's just Nishant Kasibhatla. Just go to YouTube, search for him. Nishant has got amazing content on mindset, learning, focus, and productivity. So I'm going to ask Nishant to share a little bit more about that as well. But trust me when I say this, it's got so much of valuable content. Sometimes I even ask him, I say, Nishant, are you serious? How do you come up with such great content so often? So do check that out as well. Okay, so Nishant, are you all set, my friend, for today?
Good, man. All set. Looking forward to this. Yes, let's get it going, man.
Fantastic. So I want to get straight into it itself while we have you straight into it. You're the expert when it comes to learning, when it comes to mastery. So let me ask you this all-important question. What are the common mistakes that people make when it comes to learning?
Great. I think that's a good question to start with. And you see, there are a lot of mistakes because there are different kinds of students. Because I know some of you here who are watching live right now, or people who might be watching the recording. You might be a student, preparing for examinations, or you might be a student who is, learning a skill. So that's also a student. So, but what I've seen is most of the time when people are learning, there are 3 big mistakes. They're like, you can make 100 mistakes, right? But there are 3 big mistakes that you should be really, really cautious about. And if you make these mistakes, it is going to really cost you a lot of time, a lot of frustration. So do not do that. So let's get it going. So what are the 3 traps, or what are the 3 big problems? Number 1 is people, when they're learning, they do not have focus. So the problem is lack of focus. I have seen too many students, I've seen too many people, when they want to learn something, when they want to study something, their book is open, but they're prone to so many distractions and interruptions. In fact, their environment is not set up for conducive learning, and that is seriously going to negatively impact the quality of your learning. In fact, we're living in a world of distractions. We're living in a world of interruptions, and you have to really protect your focus. And if you don't do that, you could be thinking to yourself that, I'm spending 60 minutes on the study session, But if you're having too many distractions, then you know what, that 60 minutes, it's only worth maybe 15 minutes or maybe 20 minutes. So you're losing out a lot. So that's number one. That's a big mistake. So you have to be watching out for that. So that's number one. Number two is lack of comprehension. Now, this is, I don't know the better word to say it. I would say this is a sin. If you're learning something and if you don't comprehend, that is really a bad thing. Because what is the purpose of learning? The purpose of learning is to benefit from what you're learning, right? And the way to do that is if you don't really understand. What I mean by comprehension is it is understanding. Because I have seen some students, they open the textbook or they open the book that they want to learn from, and straight away, the first objective that they have is to open the book and start remembering. Disaster, a big no-no. You cannot be doing remembering as a step number one. The step number one has to be comprehending, because remembering and learning comes later, but first you need to understand. That's step number two. And of course, step number three is also important. And I keep saying important for everything because I really feel these are the three most important things. And the third thing is lack of practice. How many times I've seen people studying and learning, they're putting their time and energy and investment, and then they don't practice. They don't recall, they don't test. So what's happening is you're spending 1 hour of your time on learning something only to realize that a day later, that's true for many people, you learn something today, the next day you forgot most of it. Now, what is the point of doing that? Because if you keep this happening, what happens is you will lose the love of learning. And you don't want to do that, because whether you're a student preparing for examinations or you're an adult who is learning something on the side, we have to keep the love of learning on all the time, because life is all about learning new things, new skills, new ideas. But if you learn something and if you only forget it the next day, you lose the momentum. You feel very bad about it, and then you might think that I don't want to learn new things because I have this habit of forgetting. So don't let that happen. So in a nutshell, lack of focus, lack of comprehension, and lack of practice. Jit, those are my top three things, I guess.
I tell you what, I think you hit the nail spot on, because even as you were telling those 3 points just now, lack of focus, lack of understanding, and lack of practice, it brought me back to the days when I was still in school, and I could see everything that I was doing wrong. In the sense that my focus was always everywhere. You talk about multi-focus. I think I had multi-focus. I was never focused on one thing, and it was all about memorizing and not understanding, because I think there's always also that misconception, right? That if I memorize something, it means I understand something. But I'm sure, you would have a different take on it. And I'm going to get to that question right after this. But just to give a quick recap of what you said just now, which is a lack of focus, the 3 common mistakes that people make: lack of focus, lack of understanding, and lack of practice. So in other words, what we need to do is focus, understand, and practice. Am I right?
Absolutely, that's correct. Here's the thing. Let's say, for example, if something happens and you had to step out of this call, you're not tuning in right now. If you can just remember, if you just ensure these 3 things, you're much better than most students on the planet.
Yeah. But Nishant, is this applicable for students of all levels? Because we have a wide variety of audience today who are tuning in, and also people who are going to be watching this video later on may come from all walks of life. So is this only applicable for a certain group of learners, or is this a formula that can be applied to anyone, whether they are in school, they are doing their their degrees, they are doing their PhDs, or even just professional development courses?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I'm assuming you're talking about the mistakes. Does this apply to people from all different
exactly
places, right?
Yeah, the mistakes.
Yeah, that's true. So here's the thing. It doesn't matter. It's for everyone. But also, because you raised the question, it's a beautiful question. And the answer for that is, for those of you who are preparing for an examination, like full-time students, you're in college, you're in university, definitely all these 3. But let's say, for example, you are a working professional, and as a part of your job, it requires you to take an additional course on the side. And even then, all these 3 are important. But for those people, there's one more mistake. People who are not full-time students, but people who are working, but have to learn a skill as a part of their job or as a hobby, you're learning something. And the one more mistake for them, and only applicable for them, is lack of time management.
Okay.
It's a big thing. It might look like a simple thing, because what happens is you're a working professional. you're super busy, you got work to do, you can come back, you got commute, you got family, you got 20 different things to do. And then what happens is learning usually takes a back seat because, you think that, oh, today I'm tired, I don't want to do it today. Tomorrow there's a meeting, and or let me start it on the weekend. So what you need to, step number one, before you embark on any new learning activity, if you're a working professional, I think the first thing is open up your calendar and look at, okay, what am I busy with? And where are the free time slots that I have that I can invest on learning? And that is that is so important, because if you don't do that, you will never get to think, because you always keep on thinking, I will get to it when I have the time. As a busy working professional, when do you get the time, right? So yeah, check out the thing.
Now I think with a lot of people working from home, I think it's even more important to schedule the learning time, right? Because again, there's just so many things on everyone's plate these days, and working from home also means that kids are going to be home. For those who are having families, there's going to be household things to be done. So learning is going to become that one of those things that I'll get to it later, and it may never happen.
Yeah, but of course, one more thing is even full-time students, of course, you need to also manage your time. But then the only thing that you're supposed to do is studying anyway. So that's the reason why I didn't say that. So, but you still have to manage what you need to study on a daily basis. So you still need to do that. But this is a big problem, especially for people who are working adults, working professionals.
Fantastic, Nishant. I think that was a wonderful insight that you've shared to start this show itself today, which is going to add a lot of value. So for those of you who are just tuning in, I'm having a chat today with Nishant Kasibhatla. He's a Guinness World Record Holder in the year 2011 for memory. He's a Grandmaster of Memory. He's a certified speaking professional, and he's truly an expert in the areas of mindset, focus, learning, and productivity. And we are having a live Q&A session today. So I love to keep live events like this as fluid as possible. So for all of you who are tuning in, if you've got any questions in the areas of study skills, in the area of boosting your brain power or achieving mastery, feel free to write it down in the live chat section itself, and I will start taking in these questions and presenting them to Nishant in a bit. Nishant, I just checked. I saw there's already a lot of questions coming in. So I'm going to dedicate a lot of time today for you to answer this question. So I hope you've braced yourself, my friend.
Perfect, man.
Yeah, perfect, right? So, Nishant, I want to move on to the next question, okay? Which I already touched on a little bit just now when you were answering the first question. And the second question really is this. I truly believe that there is a misconception between memorizing and learning. A lot of times when we were growing up, at least when I was growing up, when I was going to school, the method of studying was always memorize the thick textbook. Whatever book that was given to you, you just had to memorize everything, and remember as much as you can for the exam. And then you sit the exam. The moment the exam is done, guess what happens? Everything disappears. And we basically give everything that we put inside here back into the books for someone else to use. So my question is there a difference between memorizing and learning?
Yeah, I think this is a very, very important question. And you're right. This is a misconception. Also, people do not have clarity on this thing. So first of all, I like to say a very important thing before I tell you the difference. And the important thing is this. For students, memorizing and learning, both are important. You have to memorize, you have to learn. First is that. And now let's actually see, what could be the difference between these two things. So, number one is when you are learning something, you are understanding it, because learning requires understanding, whereas remembering or memorizing, might not. Sometimes you can understand and still remember, but sometimes you need to memorize something without understanding. For example, you have to remember the order of the planets in the solar system, right? So when you want to do that, do you understand? What can you understand? There's nothing to understand. It's a factual information. When you have a factual information, you have to memorize it. There's no understanding there. So the small difference, we can actually go much deeper into it, but just to give a quick idea on this, if you have facts, tidbits of information, like what is the capital of this country, there's nothing to understand there. So you have to memorize it. So memorization is for facts, and learning is for concepts. For example, you're learning about what are the effects of pollution, as an example, right? Then, of course, you know, to understand what is pollution, how is the pollution impacting the world or a specific country, so whatever that is thing which you have to learn as a part of your work, you still have to understand that thing. So that is the difference between memorizing and learning. And also, I did touch upon that in the previous question. And this is what you need to do when you are opening a book, when you are learning something. Step number one, or rather, objective number one, is not to remember. So this is what I've seen many students do. Open the book, and the first thing they do is they're just like going, rote memorization, cramming as they call it. So just going, open the textbook, open the book, and then they're going, and then close the book, and open the book, and then see it, and again close the book, and then just, what are you doing? You are just trying to go through the information again and again. It's mindless repetition. And what happens is, yes, it works, but it only works for short term, like what Jit was saying. So the moment, that's the reason why sometimes you learn something, the next day you forget the whole about, because it's just fact information, right? So when you open the book, the first objective is do not remember. Open the book, understand. Okay, what is pollution, or what is French war or French Revolution, whatever you're learning, I don't know. So whatever you're learning, so just understand the concept, visualize as you're learning it, and see, do I know something about this before? Or look for other modalities of learning. For example, let's say you're reading something, maybe you could watch a video on that concept because you've got YouTube, right? Or you could listen something. You can use different modalities to make learning in a better fashion. And that is where you're really getting deep into it. Now, once you have learned, for example, let's say you're learning about pollution. I can talk about pollution to my brother. I can talk pollution to my son. But if you talk in the same way in the examination, you're not going to get the answer. You're not going to get the marks that you want. So for exam preparation, there is for example, there are 7 effects of pollution. So it's not just good to understand the 7 effects of pollution, which is necessary, but you also have to remember them using some techniques, which you will talk about in a while. So you need to remember them as well. So I think that's the kind of a long answer, I guess. That's the difference between learning and memorizing. Both are important, and you need to know when to use what.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nishant. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those who are tuning in or just tuning in, we are having a chat. Nishant is hanging out with us today to talk about study skills, about boosting brain power and mastery. Nishant is a Guinness World Record holder in the year 2011 for memory. He's a grandmaster of memory, and Nishant has a wonderful YouTube channel where he shares a lot of videos, a lot of tips, a lot of strategies on focus, on productivity, on learning, and on mindset. And I've put the link to his channel in the description section below. So do check it out. Check out his channel. He's reaching about 10,000 subscribers now. Subscribe to his channel if you have not subscribed to it. Believe me, there's a lot of great content there that's going to add value to you. Okay, so Nishant, while you were giving that explanation just now, right, I was listening, but at the same time, I was checking up on how many questions we have already got in. And we do have quite a number of questions. So you know what? I'm going to keep my third question for you for later on, because I got a feeling someone is going to ask that same question as well. So let's go through the chat itself, and let's see some of the questions that are there, So hi everyone. I see a lot of comments here saying hi. That's fantastic. Okay, so I've got a question here, and it's for Lakshay Kumar, and Lakshay asks, can you show us how to improve our memory? I believe you have a simple video on that on your channel as well, right, Nishant, on how to improve your memory. But do you have like a simple framework that you can share here without getting too deep into it?
Yes, Lakshay, thanks for tuning in live, and thanks for your question. And I'm sure that this is a question that most people would like to know the answer for. So yes, Jit, I do have a video on my channel, but in a nutshell, here's the thing. 3 things. Just remember these 3 things is very, very important. Number 1 is you need to pay attention, because the first thing, here's the thing. Memory is a 3-step process. You need to register the information, you need to retain the information, and you need to recall the information. So you store, you retain, and you recall. So one of the ways of how you can do that is, number 1 is attention. at the time of learning, at the time of memorizing something, you have to have laser sharp focus. You got to have a 100% attention, because the higher the level of attention that you have, the better your retention and your recall is going to be. So that is the first A, attention. And the second A is association. So association is linking or connecting what you want to learn with something that I already know. For example, let's take Lakshay Kumar as an example. Now, Lakshay Kumar is the new name I want to learn, but in India, we have a huge Bollywood star. Can we say a huge Bollywood or a big Bollywood? I don't know. Huge star. So there's a big Bollywood star whose name is Akshay Kumar. Now, Akshay Kumar is someone I already know. Lakshay Kumar is what I want to know. So I would visualize, and in fact, he's got a pose of him in kind of a Bollywood picture as well. So I can imagine, Lakshay Kumar doing some acting. So what I'm just trying to do is I'm trying to make a connection. I'm trying to use association. So the first A, attention, second A, association, and the third A is action. Okay. Now, the question is, how can you improve your memory? Now, I just can't believe it. There's so fundamental aspect to memorizing and learning, and that is this. How do you become good at swimming? Swim more. How do you become good at speaking? Speak more. How do you become good at coding? Code more. How do you become at remembering? Remember more. How simple is that? But the problem is most people do not commit things to memory as much and as often as they should, given the goal that you have to improve your memory. I'm not talking about Lakshay Kumar here. I'm talking about most of the people on the planet. Just like imagining that, hey, I want to learn swimming, but I don't want to swim. I don't want to put my foot in the water. So that's not going to help. So look for opportunity. The reason also I can understand why people don't want to do that is simply because we got technology these days. So you want to write things down. I know you want to store things on the computer, but unless you exercise your brain, how can you become better? And here's the thing, just like the more coding you do, the faster you can learn coding, the better, the more swimming you do, the better experts you become. The more you keep exercising your memory, the committing things to memory, even if you fail, who cares? It's about getting things in. That is what you need to understand. So initially you will fail, just like swimming, just like speaking, just like coding. Same thing, you're going to fail, but you need to get into the action. So there you have it in a nutshell: attention, association, and action.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. And I think you hit it spot on with the simple fact that we've got to put it into action. We've got to have that repetition, because stuff like this doesn't happen overnight. And I think this is one of the other mistakes, I suppose, that people want, in my opinion, is that simple magic formula that's going to transform them overnight into having a great memory. Now, I remember this a long time ago. A friend was telling me that he wanted to improve his memory. So someone told him that he should be taking ginkgo pills because that helps with memories. The problem became he forgot to take the pills.
Okay.
So it's just a vicious cycle in that sense. But yeah, I love that. Attention, association, and action. Okay, so Lakshay, I hope that answered your question. So I have another question, which is from Mohammed Maidin. So Mohammed Maidin is asking how to have focused study for a long time, and I think this is important as well, right? Because we could study for 2 hours, but there's no point in studying for 2 hours if our focus is only for the first 5 to 10 minutes, so how can we have that focus for an extended period of time?
Okay, great question, Mohammed Maidin. And here's the thing. How do you focus study for a long time? I'm going to just give you a slightly different answer. First, have a 100% laser sharp focus study for a short term. Okay, this is counterintuitive, right? This is not what you're expecting to listen, but here's my take on this. First of all, many people are thinking that, okay, I need to learn something, I need to study something for 2 hours. And how can I have, how can I really have focus? But here's my question. Have you learned the ability to focus with 100% attention, even for 20 minutes? That 20 minutes is like laser sharp focus. That means, there's no phone, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no nothing, there's no interruptions. You're in the flow for 20 minutes. If you can do that, then we can talk about 30 minutes, we can talk about 50 minutes, we can talk about 2 hours. So the important thing is get into the habit of focusing for a short period of time, because here's the thing, like what Jit was mentioning, it's of no use if you want to focus for 2 hours with too many interruptions and distractions, and not getting the benefit of it. Rather, I would have just a 20-minute session with laser sharp focus that actually outweighs and outbeats and outperforms a 2-hour study session. So start with short period of time, and then you can go to the next thing. Now, having said that, let me also answer your actual question. How do you have focus study for a long time? So here's the thing. A couple of things that you can do. Number one is, when you are about to study, when you're about to learn something, first of all, freeze how much time you want to study for. Let's say you say long time. So I don't know what long time you mean. So let's get an example of say 2 hours. So for some of you, it could be 3 hours. So let's say 2 hours, let's say for example. So good. So you freeze 2 hours. So 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. is my study time, is my learning time. That's number one, is freeze the time slot. Step number two is freeze what you want to study. Because I've seen too many times when students, when they set a time goal that I want to study from 3 to 5, and at 3 o'clock, they are coming and then deciding what to study, and they study from 3 to 3:20, and then they lose interest. They think that there's not something for me, and at 3:20, they're changing to something else. Now that is not going to help you to have focus for a long time. So you need to freeze the time slot, you need to freeze what you want to study, and even you just need to continue doing that. But one more important thing is, do not study for a long time at a stretch. This is very important because your human brain can only take in focus for a certain period of time. So again, there's a lot of people saying too many things like, oh, you should be studying for 60 minutes or 3 hours at a stretch or 20 minutes at a stretch. So my suggestion is, it should be anywhere between 40 to 50, but freeze it. So let's say you've got a 2-hour session. So I would say 3 to 3:40 is my first session, and I'll take a 5 minutes break, 3:45. And then next is another 40-minute session, take a 5 minutes break, and next another 40-minute session is a 5 minutes break. So when you have that thing, and after that, you can take a longer break and then come back. So it's 40 minutes, 5-minute session, and 40 minutes, 5-minute session, and 40 minutes, 5-minute session. But just before I close it, I might think that some of you might be asking this question. Hey, I study for 40 minutes and I take a break for 5 minutes. What happens if I don't come back for the next 40-minute session? Now, here's the thing. This might look like a bit again counterintuitive, but here's my suggestion. Let's say 3 to 3:40 you study, 3:40 to 3:45 you take a break. Now 3:45, the next 40 minutes you have to start studying. Start studying, and even if you don't do anything, just 40 minutes, just sit there. Get into the habit of honoring your promise that if I want to study for 40 minutes, I will attempt to study. Whether you study or not, no one is going to watch you. You're watching it for yourself. But the thing is, no YouTube, no Facebook, no Instagram, no talking to people, no phones, no interruptions. Don't study, no problem. Just sit there. But don't do anything else, because you've committed yourself that 40 minutes is only for that. So once you do that, you get more seriousness to it. Now, I'm not saying don't study. I'm just saying that don't do anything else. So once you get to this habit, you tell yourself, that's kind of a reflection point. You know what? Wow. I can't do anything else.
Might as well study, right?
So I might as well study. So it's a counterintuitive thing, but it really helps. I do workshops, I do seminars for students also. And this is what I tell them. It really works. They get better grades after using this technique.
It's about holding yourself. Yeah, it's about holding yourself accountable, right? And like you said, getting into the habit. So Nishant, how about, so that was for staying focused for a long time. How about for huge topics? Once again, I think the question is a little bit vague in the sense of a huge topic, because what is a huge topic? So I'm taking maybe like, let's just say you're doing psychology and it's a real big topic, because there are many different areas of psychology. How do you then get down to really studying something heavy, something big? Is it the same method that you're sharing where we break it down, or is there a different way?
Okay, good. So UG Deganvi. So thank you very much for your question. So please tell how to remember huge topics. I'll rephrase that to how do you remember huge volumes of information? Probably that's what you're asking. So especially for students, or even for working professionals or taking a course, there might be some topics which are like very huge, like one chapter is 200 pages, for example. So when you want to remember huge topics, the way to do that, the one critical aspect is you have to do note taking. This is very, very important, because how do you keep track of it? Because it's so huge. It's very, very huge. So let's say I'm just giving an example, it's 200 pages. So obviously you can't be learning all the 200 pages on one day. It'll be over a period of a week, for example, or sometimes it could be a period of 2 weeks, or it could be, I don't know, maybe a month. So you're learning something now, and then something next, you do that. So it's like huge, because it takes a long period of time. So how do you keep track of it? Says the first session after you learn, you have to sit down and take some time to highlight the important information from that and make a note of those things. And here's again, the same things apply. What I said previously is focus on the comprehension. It's not about, okay, I want to learn, especially for the huge topics. Comprehension is critical, because when you are tested on huge topics in the examination, they're not going to ask you a straightforward question. They're going to ask you a question that involves your higher thinking skills, that involves your understanding of the concept. So do not attempt to just, rote memorize or cram the information. So you took the first session, whatever you want to learn it, take notes, and it will be even best if you can take the notes and close the book and mentally recall, okay, what were the key ideas from today's session? Okay, good. Now you put that away, and depending on your specific case, the next session of the same topic could come tomorrow, or it could come a week later. Now here's my suggestion for you. So when you are doing session number 2 of the same topic, before you start session number 2, go back to session number 1, and not go back, don't look at it, close your book still, and then mentally recall, not look, not review, mentally recall, what did I learn in the previous session? Now chances are there are 2 options, right? Number 1, maybe you forgot all about it. Number 2 is you could recall it. So if you could recall at least a few things, then you earn the right to go to the next session. But if you totally forgot about it, I think you will need to spend another 10 minutes to get the context, to see, oh, you know what? Oh yeah, oh yes, this is what I learned. Okay, that makes sense. And this is a very, very important thing, because it connects to what I said previously for Lakshay's question about association. So if you take the last information, if you review the information, that actually helps you to learn the new information that you're going to learn in this session in a much better fashion. So you do the same thing. So after, let's say, for example, a 200-page information, you are taking 10 sessions. Example, you use 10 sessions to cover all the 200 pages. So session 1, when you come to session 2, recall session number 1 and then go to session number 2. When you go to session number 3, recall session number 1 and 2, because now 1 becomes easy because you already have recalled it once, and now you recall number 2 and you get to do that. And once you complete a big, for example, that huge topic can have, say, 7 different subsections. Example, I'm just making this up. So each subsection, I want you to create a mind map or an info map, something like that. Again, for people who are using mind maps, here's my suggestion for you. Do not spend too much of time on coloring it and making pictures, because that actually takes away from the purpose of it. Now, yes, it does help if you can naturally, if you don't spend too much of time, but don't spend like a mass. I've seen students who spend 1 hour on learning something and create a mind map, world-class mind map for 2 hours. I mean, I would not suggest doing that. So you use this process, and also use kind of a mind map or a summary sheets for each of those 7 subsections. And one last thing is, at the end of the whole volume of information over the huge topic, you finish studying that, you can summarize or condense the word is condense all the 7 mind maps into one mind map. Because what you're doing is, now you're not just learning it, you're recalling it, and you're condensing it, you're processing it, and you're putting all these things into one mind map. So what you're doing is you're really getting deep into it. Now I know that some of you who are watching it right now is thinking, holy cow, I don't have the time. Where's the time? I don't have the time. You have to learn, you have to recall, you have to make a mind map, you have to make another mind map. So here's my question for you. What do you want? What do you want? What is your goal? Is your goal is just learn something quickly and forget everything and then worry about it, and the next time you open the textbook you feel bad about yourself and go through this one more time and then again forget it, and then you feel bad for yourself and you think that I'm not good for studying, this topic is too bad for me, I hate this topic? You want that? Or you want to be that student who get into the habit of doing what is required for you to get into a deeper level of understanding and do the additional work? The first time, the second time, the third time, yes, it does take a little bit more work. But then once you see the result, you will be automatically motivated to do it more frequently. And that is how you approach huge topics. So hope that answers your question, Deganvi.
Awesome stuff, Nishan. Fantastic. For those who are just tuning in, we're having a chat today with Nishant Kasibhatla, a Guinness World Record Holder for memory. He's a grandmaster of memory. He's a certified speaking professional. And today, he's given us the honor of hanging out with us to answer questions in the areas of study skills, boosting brain power, and also achieving mastery. We've been getting a lot of good questions so far. So we still have about 25 minutes left. So keep those questions coming. Nishan is here all the way till 10 o'clock Singapore time. So he's all the way here to the hour. So keep those questions coming and we will try our best to get to every question. Nishan has a great YouTube channel, which I shared earlier on about. The link is in the description below. He's got great videos, great content that that's in the areas of mindset, learning, focus, and productivity. So do check it out. Do subscribe to his channel as well. And if you're enjoying this live interview here today, do also subscribe to the Ideas and Inspiration channel. We just passed the 200,000 subscriber mark. Thank you all for that. It's amazing. It's an honor. You know, we are still growing, and thank you so much for the support that you have shown. So keep supporting, keep watching, and we will continue with our mission to keep adding new content, quality content for you. So Nishan, great sharing so far. I actually want to move on to the next question, right? So let me just see what's the next question here. Let's see. So what we did just now, we had the huge topics. Okay, I actually picked one question out, which I thought is also quite interesting, and because I think it's a common thing that happens to a lot of people when we're studying, you know. And I can say that normally it has happened to me in the past as well. And it really is this. This is a question from Shashi Sharma. And Shashi says this: when he starts learning something, initially he feels very excited. But after some time, it becomes boring. You know, what can we do in times like this?
Yeah, I think Shashi Sharma, what you just asked is a question that every student on this whole wide world has it, and they're struggling with it on a daily basis, or I would say on an hourly basis, if not daily basis, because this is the thing. Okay. First of all, let me read the question. When I start to learn something, initially I feel excited, but after some time it feels boring. So what should I do? So this is the challenge, because when it comes to learning your hobby, right, it's much easier to learn a hobby. And why is that? Because you like it, you want to learn it. And that's the key thing. You want to learn it. Because you want to learn it, then you don't care about how much time it takes. You don't care about how far your instructor lives. You don't care how much time it takes on changing trains or changing the buses, but you still go there and get the thing because you want to learn it. But sometimes the same cannot be said about studying and learning, because especially sometimes, you know, we have to deal a lot of information. But if there's a magical wand in your life and you want to wave that wand and, you know, make magic in your life, so the one magic that you want is you want to study. You want to study, you want to learn that topic. If you want to learn that topic really, it becomes a lot more easier. But here's the thing. What if you don't want to learn it? I mean, it might sound like a bit problematic here, because sometimes there are, let's say you're preparing for examinations and you got 7 subjects. Now the problem is you can't go to your teacher, you can't go to the principal, and you can't say that, you know what, I have these 7 subjects and this 5th subject, the 5th subject that you showed us, you know, I'm not interested in, please take this out from my syllabus. What's going to happen? Do you think they're going to listen to it? So it comes as a package. You take it or you leave it. You got to do the whole thing. But for working professionals, you know, if something is not good for you, you know, you can just take it away and replace it with something else. If it comes to hobbies, you can always do that. You know what, my instructor is far too away, I can stop it, I don't want to go that, and you can always stop it. But for studying, you have 6 subjects, you got to study 6 subjects, and in one subject you got 20 topics, and 3 topics you hate them, you still have to learn them. There's no choice for that. Now, given that we have to learn whether you like it or not, especially if I'm talking about school going or university going students. So there's only one thing that you need to do, and this is of course not an easy thing to do, but you really have to work on this, and that is make the process of learning fun. You have to have fun in learning. So how do you get the fun, right? There are a few ideas I can give you, because here's the thing. So if you are having fun in something, would you stop something? No, you would continue, right? So for those of you who are learning some hobbies, you've been learning, you will continue learning for the rest of your life. But when studying, you should do the same thing. You have to have the key word is, when learning is fun, learning is easy. So so the question now is, how do you have fun in learning? So a few ways. Again, this is a deep topic here, and possibly we can't explain the whole thing right now. So the first thing and the foremost thing that you can do is use association. Like I said, let's say you're learning about, I'm giving a random example here. Let's say you're learning about pollution. So try to link that with something that you already know. Or if you can't do that, because sometimes you're not able to do that, is try to see, how does this apply in your real world? Like, okay, you can actually go out and look for, how the world is polluted, or you can just go online and look for some videos on. So try to have different learning modalities, because here's the problem. Many people think that, oh, this is my textbook, and I have to go through my textbook and I have to go through everything in that sequence. Well, I mean, of course, it's good to do that, but sometimes if you're not excited, if you feel it is boring, you got to change the way you learn, and that is where different learning modalities can come in. So I'm reading something, okay, it's getting too much for me, I'm not able to get excited about that, then watch a video on that, or look for, how does this apply to me in my life? Or if there is an experiment that you could do, just let's say you're studying psychology and they talk about the impact of thoughts or something like that. So actually do an experiment with a couple of friends and actually do that. So engage with the content in any which way you can, right? So that is one of the things, that is one of the easy ways of how you can do that. You got to engage with the learning, you got to have fun in the learning process. And one of the ways that you could do is you can actually use some memory techniques, right? So I think probably Jit, you want to ask me that question also, is we'll come to that in a while. So if you use memory techniques, because memory techniques actually are fun. So let's say there's a technique where you have a list of, let's say you take the information that you want to learn and reduce the information into keywords. Let's say you got a topic and you have keywords, 7 keywords, and you link these keywords in a fun manner, right? Or the easiest memory technique for students is, take out the first letter and remember that. But that might not be always fun. It will be fun like a couple of times. But if you really want to have a lot of fun, then you try to link or associate, connect, have fun, build a story between these things, and that is where fun comes into things. So that is the quick answer for that question. So and also one more thing. I mean, recently I had a video on my channel about 7 study traps, and that's where I talked about the thing is, it is not the subject is boring. It's not the subject that is boring. It's our approach to the subject that is usually boring. So you need to change, because, for example, the subject can't be boring. I can say physics is boring, but can physics be super interesting for someone else?
Yep.
Of course it can be. So that means the subject is not boring. The way you're approaching it is boring. You got to change the way you approach it. So that's what I want to say for this.
Cool stuff. I think it's amazing. Yeah, so do check out the video on Nishant's channel as well, because I think there's a lot more information there in that channel. But I think that's very well said on, how do we keep that momentum going? How do we keep the excitement going? Because I think we also had another question here, which is, I feel it's a little bit similar, which is really, how to stay motivated all the time, and learn fast. Learn fast. Let's get to learn fast later on. I'm actually saving that question because I know everybody wants to know how to learn fast. So we'll just keep that as the finishing. But in terms of staying motivated, so I think it's more or less the same as the previous question that you answered, right? Which
yes,
is, how
we can just add a little bit of an extra step to this. Sachin Sharma, thanks for the question. How to stay motivated. So we'll talk about the first part here, motivated here. Now, how do you get the motivation? The answer is, when you get the results, you get motivated automatically. So you're learning something, and if you can learn, and if you feel good, oh, you know what, I had these 7 concepts, I can learn this thing. Would you be motivated for another study session next day? Absolutely, yes, because you got a result, right? But if you don't get the result, then what happens is, next time you want to open the textbook, then what do you think? That's not for me, because last time I failed, last time was boring, last time was stressful, so I didn't want to do that. So you need to have the result. You need to have the result. So how do you get the result? Again, the thing is, before you begin the study session, have a goal as to what exactly do I want to study. Now, it might look like very, very simple, but I've seen many people do not have exact clarity. They usually have something vague, like I will study physics today, I will study chemistry today. No, in chemistry, what exactly you want to study? Oh, in chemistry, I want to study chemical bonding. Okay, that's much better. But again, in chemical, you can't be covering chemical bonding in one study session. It's a huge topic. So again, what exactly in chemical bonding do you want to study? Oh, I want to study the molecular orbital theory. Ah, good. That's even better. Now, in molecular orbital theory, so what is the goal that I have? By the end of the study session, what should I do as a goal? Oh, I should be able to define molecular orbital theory as an example. I don't know much about chemistry. I'm just using some concepts given for some of my students in the past. So have a clear-cut goal, and at the end of the study session, you should know clearly that you have achieved the goal. And if you achieve the goal, it becomes easy for you to go to the next study session. That is the reason why goal setting is important. And be very clear. How do I know I passed the study session or not? Or if I can recall from my memory, what is the molecular orbital theory, or what are the 7 elements to it? I don't know what the thing is. It becomes easy for you to go to the next session. Otherwise, what happens is, if you have a vague thing, today I want to study chemistry, open the textbook, it's all, I don't know, man, it's like, oh, wow, so much of information. Then you went through the thing, but you didn't get any result, and you don't want to do one more study session. So that's a quick idea on the importance of getting specific on what you want to achieve with the study session. That actually helps you motivated because you get the results.
So being specific and setting goals, and then achieving those goals, and then moving on to the next one, right?
Yeah, that reminds me that it
Yes.
could be even easy goals, but once you set a goal, achieve a goal, you want to go to the next goal. So yeah.
Fantastic. Cool. Thank you for that, Nishant. I hope you all, for those of you tuning in, I hope you're getting a lot of value from this session as well. We've got a lot more questions to go. So I'm going to go through some of the questions as well really fast, and I'm going to keep some of the ones that I've highlighted to really go a little bit deeper into. So for everyone who's been wishing us well and saying hi, thank you so much for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you this evening. Thank you. We really appreciate that. I've got a question here from Mirza. So Mirza asked how to become good at speaking. Mirza, that's actually a very good question, because a lot of people do ask that question. But unfortunately, that is a topic for another day, because that's a big topic itself. So for now, I would suggest, just go to the Ideas and Inspiration channel. We've got a few videos there on how to create and deliver impactful speeches. Check those videos out first. You can always leave comments in the comment sections of the video, because we do answer those questions there as well. So do that. Watch those videos first, and then post your questions there, and keep a lookout for another live event that we might do on the specific topic on public speaking. Okay, so let's see. What are the questions? So we've got this question from Robin Hood. Robin Hood, thank you for this question itself. And the question is, how can we interact with new people? So again, I think similar to public speaking, this also is a whole different topic altogether, because this is about interpersonal skills, and there are different strategies for it, and a simple thing you can do really is to use YouTube, because you're already on YouTube. Do a simple search on interpersonal skills, and you're going to get a lot of different ideas on how to connect, how to interact with people. But I think more importantly is what you can take from this video or this session here today with Nishant is how to make sure you get the most out of what you're learning from those videos. Because you can watch a video, as Nishant said, but end of the day, if you just watch it, and if you don't implement it, you don't take action over it, it's going to be wasted knowledge anyway. So that's that. Pavan Kumar, the question is, you can't remember what you learned today tomorrow. And I think that's an issue for a lot of people as well. And Nishant did cover that just now on how to make sure we improve our remembering skills. And I think Nishant simply put, it was the 3 A's, right, that you shared just now to help us remember better, which is attention.
Jit, if you're okay.
Just quickly, sure, you can go in. Yeah.
Pavan Kumar, I'm going to make it because it's like a rapid fire thing. So just 30-second answer for this, because we don't have a lot of time. So I can't remember today's learning in tomorrow. What you need to do, end every study session with a review and test. Let's say you want to learn 5 things today. You learn, you review those 5 things, close the book or close your eyes and test. Oh, what are the 5 things? If you can't recall the 5 things, you can only recall 3 things, go back, look at the 5 things, and then you test yourself. If you can test and you can answer all the 5 things, then it's good, it's fine. But the next day when you go to session number 2, before you also need to recall, okay, what are the 5 steps yesterday I learned? Quickly recall, and then you do, and then you start the second study session. I can guarantee you that your recall ability will be much better.
So that's fantastic. So that you mentioned tests is also,
Yes.
I think a lot of times when it tests, I think we're talking about like test papers or test paper, but can we come up with our own test to test ourselves?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. When I say test, what I simply meant was recall. Test yourself whether you know this or not. But I mean, test papers, that is definitely a good strategy, but that is usually, when you have completed a good chunk of syllabus, only then could you do a test paper for that. But yeah, that is critical too. In fact, that's a great thing you brought up, Jit. Many people, this is like this thing, it's like participating in a drama, and you don't go for rehearsals. Okay? You learn the lines. Oh yeah, this is the lines. I know the lines and all that. But then, I mean, doing it in your room and doing it on the stage under stage conditions is a totally different ball game. So people who are doing the test papers, here's the thing: when you do the test paper, please do it like it is really a test. Otherwise, there's no point. I've seen people, doing test papers in open area, in a Starbucks, for example. You can do that. Sometimes you don't have place in home, so you have to do that. But then, wherever you are, just like the test, you can't move out for the whole 2 hours or 1.5 hours. You just simply can't, because no. What's a test? You have to replicate the test conditions, and that is how you become stronger. So that's a quick answer on the. So when I say test for Pawan's question, what I meant was quickly recall. But I'm just giving you
quick recall test. Okay, fantastic, nice. All right, cool. So next one, I think this is quite similar, but I'll let you take a look at it again. This is from Manish, and Manish said, "I learned one day, but I'm not continue," and he forgets and began again. So he feels like it's a waste of time. And is this the same as the previous question from Pavan?
Yeah, so Manish Official, so here's the answer for that. And the answer is very simple. You have to get into the habit of learn, review, test. Learn, review, test. You learn with 100% focus, of course, and then you review it and you test yourself. And for some of you might be thinking that, everyday testing, maybe, is it very tiring? But here's the thing. I mean, I told you already, association, attention, and action. Without action, you can't. Just like podcasting, just like swimming, cycling, speaking, you got to practice testing and test. I mean, this is the thing. In fact, now we got proof. We got research saying that a person who tests himself or herself more often will always have better performance than the person who simply learns but do not test. So that's the answer.
Perfect. Cool. Nishant, I've got a question here from Sadwi Panwal. And Sadwi says that what to do when limited time, because exams are on the way. So I think what I understand from this is that it's quite close to the exam date and time is limited.
Exactly.
Then how is this about learning fast then?
Okay, so Sadhvi Panwar, so that's a great question, and the answer for that is, so how do you learn things faster when we have limited time? So again, it really depends on a lot of factors, but some quick things is, this is where if you really have someone that you can go to, especially a teacher, it is specifically for study skills, right? Study exam preparation only. So if you have a teacher, or if you have someone, maybe tuition teacher or a school teacher, and you really go and tell them, teacher, I messed up, and I didn't do what was needed, and we got only like 10 days, or you got only like 20 days remaining. So what are the areas I need to be focusing on? Because here's the thing, it's impossible for you to go through everything in those 20 days. And whether you want to do, I mean, of course, it will be great, wonderful, why not? I mean, if you have the time, you should do it. But we don't have the time. You have limited time. In the limited time, you got to be really choosy on where you have to put your attention and your time on. So you need to get a help from someone, and that is the best way that you could do. And if you don't have that luxury of someone that you can get help from, then the next best way is what I already talked about, is test papers. So get a bunch of test papers, let's say for the last 2-3 years of test papers, and see what kind of questions are coming up. and what is the level of depth that they're looking at. And see, here's the thing, you have limited time, so you got to choose what are the important ones, what are the high scoring subjects, high scoring topics within that subject, and you want to put your all in time and energy in that. And if you have limited time, the one thing is must, first of all, understand what is it that you should be spending your time and energy on, the topics wise. And the second thing is, do not waste a single second, especially when you're studying, when you're learning. You can just imagine it's like a battle. When you are in a battle, what do you do? Because you got limited time. When you're in a battle, what do? You can't be, let's say you're in the battlefield, you can't be checking your phone in the war zone, right? You got to be in the zone. You got to put your mind, heart, soul, everything into that. You can't effort. And exams are coming up very soon. And after the exams are over, you can freak out. You can have time. You can hang out. Everything that you could do. But in those 20 days remaining, or I don't know how much time you have, 30 days remaining or 2 months remaining, plan your time very well and stick to the time and just push through it, because that is the way in which you can really make the most of it. So understanding where to put your focus on and not wasting a single second, and that is what you should be focusing on. So hope that answered your question.
Awesome. That was a good answer. I actually got another message just now from Sadhu itself, said that she finally understands where the mistakes were.
Cool.
So, okay, I'm going on to the next question. So I've got a question from Amit Sharma, and his question is how to speed up solving problems. So I don't know if this is a question that you can address today, or if you want to address today, but if you have again a rapid fire 30-second answer for this, is there any tips you can share?
Okay, so again, we talked about in the very first beginning of this session, I talked about the biggest mistakes, and the third mistake is lack of practice. So how to speed up solving problems? So it's about, again, I talked about lack of comprehension, lack of practice. So if you're not able to speed up the solving problems, number one is maybe you don't really understand. I don't know. So that could be one thing. So you need to understand how to solve the problems. And here's the thing, which is what I suggest my students in my workshops is, let's say you got a formula, right? Just make it very simple. It's like, I don't know, a plus b whole square equals to a square plus 2ab plus b square, for example. That's the formula that you have. So if you want to really use that, so what I suggest is identify 10 problems that uses this formula. So you're not solving 10 different kinds of problems. You're solving 10 similar types of problems, but you solve them one after the other without a break. That is what you should be doing. So how to speed up is, are you really understanding the question, right? So if you're not able to do that, then you need to understand the thing. But the second thing is, take a bunch of these questions and just like, it's like a competition. So if you have the first 10 questions, let's say first 5 questions, solve it. How much time did it take? Oh, it took 3 minutes 20 seconds. Okay, just like running marathon, or not running 100-meter race, for example. So, and then, okay, next time can it be better? So you can do that. So, but then it's not just about speed, it's also about comprehension. So again, this is a quick answer for your question, because I need to really understand what kind of problem, what kind of issues, so many other things before I can really give you a much more informed answer.
And I suppose if it's just problem solving skills, I think it again comes back to practice, right? Getting into the habit of doing more problem solving skills, something what you say just now. So I've got a very interesting question from Karan Singh. Any thoughts on this?
Okay, so I'm not the expert on forgetting, but
because we're talking about remembering, right, today. Yeah.
Yes.
No, Karan, I think it's definitely a good question, but I think it's a different topic altogether.
No, but I can just give you a 30-second answer for that. Karan Singh, first of all, I totally understand why you have to bring that up, because we have painful memories that we want to get rid of. So we have something happened in the past and we have to remember that. So one of the things I've learned is, when we think of that painful memory or a bad memory, so we always have some kind of emotion attached to that. The emotion could be, pain or suffering or, loss or some kind of thing. So one of the things that I've learned is, if you want to forget that past, you can't forget the past. The image is going to come back and haunt you. In fact, the more you think about it, the more it's going to haunt you. So what you need to do is you need to change the emotion that you attach with that experience. So let's say, for example, I'll give a very simple example. It happened to me in my life. So I said something to someone, and which I I should not have said, as an example, right? I said something to someone I should not have said. It was not really a bad word or something like that, but in that context, it was not appropriate. You know what I mean? It's not a swear word or anything. I didn't scold anyone, it was just not using the right word in the right context. So after that incident happened, every time I used to think about that, I was thinking, oh my God, I feel so embarrassed. I feel so embarrassed about it. So every time I think about it, I feel so bad about the whole experience. And then it took me a long time for me to understand that, hey, next time I think about it, instead of feeling embarrassment, how about I feel like, okay, that's a learning moment, right? Okay, you can't take the embarrassment out of it. I got embarrassed and that person also had a problem, but then I changed it. Okay, it's a learning moment for me. So next time when this thing happens, I'll be mindful of using that word, I have to be using this word. So what happens is when you change the context, when you change the frame around it, so it's not really, you can't forget it, because once it's your brain, it's in your brain. But you can change what the emotion that attached to it, and then it's not going to be that painful anymore. And also, when you don't feel that negative feeling towards it, you don't think about it more often. It just slowly just fades away. So, like, for example, the experience that I explained to you, that happened in my high school, and it's like 20 years ago. But now that you said it,
yeah,
I forgot. I kind of forgot about it, but I still remember it. But when I remember it, I'm not feeling bad about it. I'm feeling, okay, I've learned a lesson. And so, Karan Singh, hopefully that gave you some ideas.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Nishant. So, Nishant, we've got a lot more questions here. And the questions are just coming in. So, unfortunately, we are also running out of time soon. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to just pick up maybe a few more, three or four more questions, which I think which is really in line with what we're doing today. And one of it really is this. I love this question as well from Govind Gupta, which is how much balance needed between theory and practical? Because we talked about studying and we talked about action as well, right? So what's the balance between these two?
Okay, so again, it really, Govind Gupta, great question, and it really depends on the information that you are learning. But usually, general rule that I tend to have for this kind of a question is 1:2, right? So let's say you spend an hour in learning theory, and I would spend 2 hours on, okay, here's my formula, I call it the output principle. So people are learning, that's theory. But then learning is not going to make you great. It's what you do with what you learn is what gets you results in your life. So you spend some time on learning, then also spend some time on output. Input is learning, output is reflect on it or implement. In case practical application, you need to apply that. Unless you apply that, you can't really remember. And also application helps you to clear up concepts, because when you want to apply it, sometimes you get stuck. Oh, I got stuck, man. What should I do? Oh, then you go back to theory and re-look at it and then come back, and then now you reapply. So that's the reason why if you can spend 2 hours of applications, and then one, or at least, and let's say for some of you think, oh my God, that's like, wow, I got like 1,000 hours of theory, and if you do that, means I spend 2,000 hours on practical applications. Well, if you don't really have, physically not possible to do that, then at least 1.1. You spend theory a little bit more on practical application, unless of course some theory doesn't warrant any practical application, in which case just think of how can I use it in my life. So that's where reflect comes in. So here's the thing: learn, reflect, implement, and share. That is in summary, this is the thing. So people only do learn, and that too learning is not done with 100% focus. So that is learn, that is the input. But then that learning is good, but learning, here's my point. Input gets you on the path. Output gets you to the destination. So your reflect, your implement, and your share will get you to destination. So reflect means, how does it apply to me in my life? Implement means, okay, how can I use this in my life? And share means, share it with your teacher, share it with your friend, share it with someone else. And that's how you can really solidify what learning is all about.
Very insightful. Very insightful. So Govind, just to add on to what Nishant has just said, my advice would be this. Nishant really shared a lot about his output principle in that video that I talked about on the Ideas and Inspiration channel, the talk that he delivered on mastery, on how to learn anything fast. Go to the channel, go to Ideas and Inspiration, our channel here, look for his video and watch that. Believe me, it's amazing what he shared in 20 minutes, changed a lot of people's life in how they look at studying, just with a simple output principle. So, take a look at that. Okay. Nishant, I've got a question here from Shalini, and the question is, can I increase my study time? How are the aspirants have been studying for many hours per day, especially the UPSC aspirants? Do you have a take on this?
So let me. How are the aspirants have been studying
Yep.
for many hours per day? How can I increase my study time? Shalini. So, sir, how can I increase my study time? How the aspirants have been studying for many hours per day, especially UPSC aspirants. So, yeah, I mean, okay. So, I don't know, because you can't increase your study time. First of all, it all depends on how much time you have. So, my suggestion would be, so look at your day and see, okay, practically, without getting yourself brain fried out, how much time can you really spend on studying for today? So let's say it's X amount of hours. Okay, it's X amount of hours you spend today. But here's the thing: make that X amount of time count. By better attention, laser sharp focus, by reviewing, by testing. And if you can really get into that, then slowly the next day increase it to, or next day, or maybe the 2 days later or a week later, increase it to X plus a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. It's not about how can I study 10 hours a day. It's about how to first learn 1 hour a day, but make it really count and make it world class. And once you do that, you can always do 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, or I don't know how much time you have in the day. And here's one important thing, especially for students studying for long periods of time: always take a break after at least 50 minutes, 60 minutes is usually a good time to take a break. But here's the thing: let's say you want to take a break from 10:50 to 11 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, you have, I already discussed this before, at 11 o'clock, you have to get to the study table, you have to open the textbook, you have to read the first page. And after that, if you can't read, just stay there, but you can't do anything else. So
commit yourself to that time, right?
Exactly, yes. So that's the answer, Shalini.
Perfect. Another interesting question is this. So should we study late night? Does it affect the brains?
Okay, what I want to say might might be shocking for some of you here, because traditionally a lot of people think that there's a specific time you should study. So Deep Singh, my answer to that is it absolutely doesn't matter. You can wake up in the night 2 o'clock and study, and you can still make it count. It's absolutely the time of the day, in my opinion, as what I have seen in my life. It really doesn't matter. Go for it. It's about the quality of the study time that matters, not the time of your study.
Yeah. So fantastic. Nishant, we have a very special request. Amit Oja says he's a big fan of yours, and he says, please say hi to him.
Amit Oja, man, thank you very much for saying that. It really means a lot. Thanks so much. And hi, Amit.
Fantastic. How can I stop procrastinating? It's a simple thing about procrastinating, because again, I think it's about putting it off, right? You mentioned about getting into the habit, setting the time, and just doing it. Sometimes things get in the way, and we often get into this habit to procrastinate. Is there a simple way to get over this?
Okay, again, this is a huge topic, and as you can rightly, struggles with this. I wish if we got this question slightly before, we could have spent more time. But Babbage College, I remember Charles Babbage is the inventor of the computer. So how do you stop procrastination? Quick answer is get started. Because most of the time when people are procrastinating, they're not doing, they're thinking, oh, I should do this. Oh, I should do that. Oh, I should do this. Oh, if I do this, what happens? If I do that, what happens? They're thinking. So when you need to get into the habit of doing, so that doing could be a simple thing, but procrastination can be killed by taking action. And the action could be simple, but you got to get into the action zone, and that is how you can kill the procrastination. That's a simple answer. We can have a detailed answer if we had more time.
Fantastic. So national exams coming up, like PSLE, O levels. Any advice for students? Just simple advice for students, so that where school lessons are nearing to the end, and it's almost the date for the exams. Any advice for them, real quick?
Okay, KH Kong national exam. So obviously PSLE is Singapore based. So for those of you from tuning in from different parts of the world, it's primary school living examination. It's a big examination in Singapore. So tackling national exams, I think one of the because of the absence of time, I just want to give something which is really relevant and quick, and that is my suggestion is do the practice papers. But of course, you might already know that, and you can say, "Oh, holy cow! I mean, tell something else, man." But here's my quick suggestion on that. Step number 1: do the practice test. Step number 2: do it under exam conditions. Step number 3: score yourself on that test papers. And step number 4 is to make a log of what kind of mistakes I'm making, because not everyone does all these 4 things. So I'll say that one more time. You take the exam tests, you take the test papers, and number 2, do it under 100% exam conditions. And number 3, score yourself. You need to know, okay, I scored 73 out of 100, I scored 69 out of 100, I scored 99 out of 100, whatever that thing is. Score yourself, because that scoring knows where your level is. Because sometimes when people take an examination, they loosely think, oh, I've done well, I've not done well. Score yourself. And number 4 is to write down, oh, why did I lose these 12 marks? So that is insight, that is getting into insight as to how you can improve. And if you can do all 4 things, it's going to definitely help you to do much better.
Fantastic. I'm sure you've got this question before. Any food you suggest? Is there such a thing?
Grab, eat whatever you want to eat, man. No problem with that. So, of course, I mean, that's a quick answer. Yes, there are some foods that are supposed to be good for your brain and all that. But my suggestion here is focus on the techniques, focus on review, focus on test, focus on concentration. Those are much better ways than going for some kind of foods, because that is a lazy way to do something. So yeah, I mean, I personally, I don't really do much about food. So I say same thing. Go for technique and go online and search for what are good food for memory. I don't even care to do that, really. Practice is what makes you perfect.
Awesome. This is a question for Dr. Shivam. Dr. Shivam has been watching our live shows for I think almost every episode now. So welcome back, Dr. Shivam. And his question is this: which books should one read for personal growth? Are there any favorite books of yours? If you could share maybe your top 3 books on personal growth.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll say 2 that really impacted me a lot in my life, especially for personal growth. But of course, the problem is, not the problem. It's very likely that Dr. Shivam, you might already know these books. But here's the thing. Number 1 is Think and Grow Rich by Dr. Not sure. It's Napoleon Hill. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This book is not really only about wealth, growing money, or grow rich is not about money. It's about how to achieve your goals. And I think that book has written many years ago, and that was one of the first self-help books that really changed my life in the way of thinking, because one of the key messages of that book is, if you can think it, you can do it. If you can believe it, you can do it. So that's important. That's the first book. And second book is a little bit more deeper, and that is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey. So, and again, if you watch the videos on my channel, I'm really heavily inspired by Napoleon Hill and his work, and I've got a couple of videos on them, as well as to how you can use your mindset, and how you can use your thoughts and your thinking process, your belief, to make sure you can grow ahead in your life. So sometimes it's not the techniques, sometimes it is the mindset that is stopping us from moving ahead in our life. So these 2 books actually help you with the mindset that is required for success.
Yeah, fantastic. So let me just see. Yeah, so I think I'm probably going to stop this here as well in terms of the questions, because again, I skipped through quite a number of questions as well, also because I think in the course of this live session as well, Nishant has actually answered quite a number of those questions in his answers already. So I do watch this video again, to see if I didn't pick your question out to answer your question, that would probably mean that it's already been answered. So do watch this video again. I'm pretty sure the answer will be there. And if you still don't find your answer, leave it in the comment section when you do watch it again. All right. So in the interest of time itself, I'm going to wrap this up really quick now. But Nishant, here's my last question for you. And this is really from a perspective of a framework. Is there a simple formula to learn fast?
Okay. Well, the simple formula really is spending more time on the output than on the input. If you really want to get back to the basics, Jit, it is basically this. Because most of the time what happens is people are only opening the book and they're studying.
And that input, just opening the book and studying?
Yeah, that is input. So that is just pure input. And also the unfortunate thing is even people are doing the input, it's not like high quality input. It's not like 100% focus. It's not laser sharp focus. It's not really having a clear goal as to what you're learning. Sorry. So the first step is input, that you already are doing it. You're learning. There's no problem with that. But the second aspect is output. And output is where now things like note taking. When you're taking notes, what happens? You are not learning. You are interacting with the information that you already have learned. So note taking is one example of output. Another example of output is recall. You're recalling the information. You're not learning. When you're recalling, you're not learning. Review. You're reviewing. You're not learning. So learning is there, but you also need to spend a lot more time on the output things such as note taking, recall, test, sharing with someone else, doing practice tests. So, and here's the thing. This is the golden principle, really. And a person who really became a top student in his or her class usually is the person who has spent a ton of time on output than input. Input is important, and output is what gets you to the destination. So that is, I mean, again, Jit, I mean, we would have loved to spend more time on this, but
Definitely. But I think you have shared the most important part of it as well, which is focus on the output. And I love the formula that you shared earlier on, which is 2 times input. So however much time you're spending on the input where you're getting information in, whether it's reading, watching videos, now you've got to spend 2 times that amount on the output. And I think that's very important. Nishant, thank you so much for being here, for hanging out with us today. For those of you who are tuning in, we have been having a chat with Nishant Kasibhatla. He's a Guinness World Record Holder, 2011. He is a grandmaster of memory. He's a certified speaking professional. He's got an amazing YouTube channel, which has got almost 10,000 subscribers now. He produces a lot of content on a regular basis in the areas of mindset, focus, learning, and productivity. Some of the questions that you have been asking here, he has already done amazing videos on it on his channel. So I urge you, I encourage you to really go to his channel, check it out, subscribe to his channel, turn on that notification bell, because he is one of the most giving person I know. He shares it as it is. There's no hidden stuff behind it. So do check out his channel, check out the videos. He's got amazing online programs as well. Check those out as well, and you'll find all those information on his channel. So just go to the description section below. I've put the link to his channel there. Visit his channel. Nishant, thank you again for joining us here today. For all of you who have joined Nishant and me, thank you for spending this evening with us. I hope you had a very productive time. I hope you got a lot of value out of it. Do also remember to subscribe to the Ideas and Inspiration channel. We have got a lot more exciting stuff coming your way really soon. So, Nishant, any parting words from you, my friend, for today?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's been really fun doing this, and I can see on one side, the questions really popping up like a lot. So I mean, really, like I said, would have loved to spend more time, and I don't know, maybe we'll see how we can do this. But like what Jit said, definitely put some questions in the comment sections on this video, and when we get to the time, we'll actually go back and answer those questions. That's number one. Number two is, for those of you tuned in late into this thing, so I would highly recommend you to watch from the beginning, because we covered some really good content at the beginning of the session. It answers some of your questions, those of you who joined in later. And like what Jis was mentioning, I also have an online course. The description is below that. If you want to really speed track, then that's one of the things that you want to check it out. And of course, yes, do subscribe to Ideas and Inspiration, because it's got a lot of content coming in. And of course, subscribe to my channel as well. The description is in the link. And thank you so much for everyone. I love you all for all your questions. And sorry we couldn't get to answer everything that because we have limited time.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Nishant. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. It's been an absolute pleasure. Bye, and I'll see you all next time.
Thanks,
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.